And now, Signature Dish, a WETA original series.
Today on Signature Dish, we're raising a glass to some signature drinks. We're mixing things up.
Whoa.
First, heading deep into Virginia wine country.
There's the science part of it, and then there's the farm work part of it.
Yeah, it's a labor of love.
Before stopping at an out-of-the-ordinary distillery.
It's almost like gin and whiskey had a baby. Cheers.
Cheers.
And sampling some ales.
So this is a pretty strong beer here.
That's right, but it's a nice, clean sip of beer.
From a brewery built for all.
I'm Seth Tillman, WETA producer and DC native, and I love good food. That's why I'm traveling to restaurants across the DMV. At each stop, looking for the one thing you just gotta try. That signature dish.
My first stop for sips is nestled in the rolling hillsides of Delaplane, Virginia. It's here during peak harvest season that I'm paying a visit to Barrel Oak Winery. The vineyard is overseen by head winemaker Jeremy Liggett.
When I was 14 years old, my family actually started a vineyard in Southern Virginia, and I usually joke with the customers that they made me work on it. When I graduated high school, I actually went to Fresno State out in California and gained a degree in enology and chemistry. And the goal was to always come back to Virginia. Some of the first winemaking in the United States was done in Virginia. So in 2012, I actually returned to my home state. And when I saw that Barrel Oak was looking for a new head winemaker, it really piqued my interest because I know this area. We just have beautiful, pristine vineyards. We're in this valley that sometimes gets overlooked. I think personally some of the best grapes in Virginia come from right here.
While the winery dates back to 2006, in 2022, Barrel Oak was purchased by local entrepreneurs and wine lovers Ken and Cavell Bajaj.
They're putting money and investing into the quality of wine that we're producing, giving us the tools that we need to elevate our product. We still produce something for everybody, but we want to up our game and have been doing what we can to produce the highest quality experience and wine that we can. Winemaking's a lot of fun because you do something different every day. Some days I'm in the tractor, some days I'm in the office. Right now, it's obviously a lot of winemaking going on. I think I've got grapes up to my ears. The grapes come in one time. You get this one chance every year to make something great. And I've got that degree in chemistry, but it's so much of an art as well. And so to be able to tie those two together, it's a lot of fun.
Once a year during the grape harvest, Barrel Oak resurrects an ancient winemaking tradition and invites the public to join in, which is how I'm getting this party started today.
Jeremy,
Seth,
good to meet you.
good to meet you. Thanks for coming out.
What a beautiful spot. Grapes on the vine. And I see a whole bunch in the barrel here.
Well, yeah, that's why you came, because we need some help making wine today. So we're going to stomp these grapes and bring it all the way back to the beginning of winemaking.
Well, I've gotten my hands dirty on the show before, but get my feet dirty, that's a new one
Well,
for
hey,
me.
that's good. There's a first for everything, right?
All right. Well, I'm sorry that the viewers at home have to see my feet.
You got to do what you got to do to make great wine. You can't really go wrong. You can feel it's very squishy. You can see this is actually Chamberson grapes. It's a big, fat, juicy grape.
It's me and the bees in this barrel today, so they're making me a little bit nervous.
Don't worry, they're much more interested in those grapes and grape juice than you.
And was there actually a reason that people would stomp on grapes?
Yeah, this way of crushing grapes is actually a really gentle way to press the juice out. You're not cracking any seeds and getting bitter flavors, but you are using your feet. But after, 200 or 300 people will have their feet in here, it's not something that I really want to produce good wine out of.
Well, I'm glad the technology has come a long way over the centuries.
Me too.
All right, why don't you show me how you actually make wine?
Yeah, come on, let me show you how we do it. So Amazing Wine starts in the vineyard. We grow 9 varieties here at Barrel Oak. Let me take you to a piece of Virginia's history and jump in the golf cart.
Oh man, I'm on board.
This thing is electric, so it's really quiet, but it's really nice.
As Jeremy takes me on a ride through Barrel Oak's 78 acres, our destination is the plot of Norton grapes. The grape once grew wild in these fields, but it was first cultivated by its namesake, Dr. Daniel Norton, in the early 19th century. After a long period of neglect for the homegrown species, the Norton grape is once again a cornerstone of the Virginia wine industry.
So this is the fun part of the job, getting to come
Yeah.
out here to the fields.
Exactly. It's pretty cool because this is actually where we believe Dr. Norton lived at one point. So we actually grow Norton right here in front of this house.
Oh, I love that.
Then let me tell you a little bit about how we grow our Norton vines. These we actually do on a high wire, so the vines are actually growing down. They're the wild vine, you know, that's what we call it.
And you wouldn't mind if I try one of these grapes just right off the
No,
vine?
please, come on, let's have some. Norton's actually known for having a lot of malic acid, so you'll get that nice acidity, and then you'll get some of that sweetness up front. And
And a crunch.
a crunch, that's right. So all these have seeds in it. And what I like to do is actually examine the seed. And what I'm looking for is ripeness in the seed as well, because that gives me a good indication of ripeness of the grape. You can see there's actually not much green at all. So then I'll eat the seed itself. And I'm looking for a consistency of almost a sunflower seed. And you can tell that it's just about right.
Got a tough job, man. You got to come out here and snack on grapes.
Somebody's got to do
It's
it.
science. It's science, right?
What's really different about these is they're so pulpy, so I'll actually peel the skin off. This is one of the only grapes where the complete pulp will stay intact, and it's very thick. It's got all these nice, beautiful, concentrated flavors in it. You don't get quite as much juice per ton because it is so pulpy, but the juice that you get is intense with impacted flavor.
All right, so the juice is worth the squeeze on this one?
Every time. Absolutely.
And so how many more days before you're ready to pull these things in and start making some wine?
We're actually going to be harvesting soon, probably next week.
All right, so this is basically peak freshness right here that
Yeah.
I'm tasting.
Let's go back to the cellar. I've got some aging in barrels right now.
let's do it.
On our way to the cellars, Jeremy first shows me a few tools of the trade, while another grape variety is processed. These massive machines include the destemmer, which removes all stems, leaves, and debris from the grape, and the press, which gently extracts the juice. No feet required. From there, the fermentation process with the yeast begins.
So the juice that we're extracting right now, we're actually pumping it into our tanks. But most of our red wine we ferment in these 1-ton bin fermenters. You can see here, we've actually got some beautiful Cabernet Franc. And some of our wines get different yeast to bring out different types of flavors. We also do some native fermentation here as well, where we'll let the grapes naturally ferment with some of their own yeast. So it's pretty simple.
To give the yeast a much-needed breath of fresh air, Jeremy and his team give the grapes 2 punch-downs a day, which I was only too happy to try my hand at.
Oh boy, all this oxygen is gonna help the yeast come to life a little bit.
Yeah, as you're doing this, we're giving the yeast a chance to breathe, release its CO2, and make it happy. You know, we want to have very healthy yeast and a happy yeast because it's going to produce the best wine possible.
Well, there's the science part of it, and then there's the farm work part of it.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
this
right.
is the farm work.
After fermenting for a few weeks, the juice for the reds is pressed out and then put in oak barrels to age, which is the final stop on the tour.
So this is our cellar. This is our main barrel room. And
While the Nortons will age for a little over 2 years, Jeremy is using his wine thief so we can sample one that's been sitting for just under a year.
and if you just hold your glass cellar. And what we want to do when we taste it is we want to swirl it. We want to take a look at the color, and then you want to give it a nice
A
smell.
little sniff. Well, I think that's pretty good, but I'm guessing from a vintner's perspective, there's a little more work that needs to be done.
Absolutely, yeah. No, this has got a little ways to go. It is tasted nice today, but with Norton being such high in acid, we wanted to sit in this barrel for at least another year, round that acid out, and be nice and smooth. We've got a beautiful 2021 Estate Norton, and you know, it'd be fun to show you something that's a finished product.
Oh, that sounds good. All right, Jeremy, Cavell, and Ken. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. How are we doing this?
So we're gonna start off with our Estate Norton, which is 100% Norton. So just over 2 years in barrel, and then since it's been in the bottle, it's been just over almost a year. You'll see Norton's got that dark, inky, really heavy color, and then you'll want to give it a smell.
And of course, before we sip, Cheers to a wonderful day
Cheers.
out at the winery.
I like this one. This is really good.
So you get a lot of that blackberry, that black currant on the nose. You get that prevalent acidity that you'll get from Norton, but then it's actually the mouthfeel is just starting to round out, so that like kind of crisp finish.
That's excellent wine.
It's a labor of love.
Especially drinking it with a winemaker.
Of course. And Cavell, what do you love about this particular wine?
It's not so difficult to drink. It's an easy drinking wine. I love the color. Nose is good.
And are these two more different types of Norton on the table here?
Yes, actually, this is our sparkling Norton, which is, very unique. I actually have never seen another sparkling Norton in the entire world. During the fermentation of Norton, there's actually a period where it smells like pink bubble gum.
Ooh.
And so the idea for this wine was to try to harness that smell and keep it so that in the finished product, you actually get some nice pink bubblegum flavors.
All right, so we're entering the world, a nice light summer drinking here.
Yes, light, summer, unique. We did a classic sparkling press cycle on this, which is very gentle, so you don't want to extract any of those tannins and all that heavy stuff. And so kept it really light, definitely unique, different, and hopefully something that you enjoy.
We have always told Jeremy, think outside the box. Let's produce unique and the best wines.
Well, this is definitely unique. And speaking of unique, I'm seeing a dog and looks like a goat on the front of this one.
Yeah, that is a goat. We work with different local artists to do a drawing for one of our wine labels. This is actually a blend of Norton and Chamberson. They grab you a foot stomp out here. And so we'll kind of bring it full circle to where you can try a nice blend of the two. It's a great spring and summertime wine. It's a great backyard barbecue wine.
Well, it's amazing that even with the Norton itself, 3 different bottles of wine, 3 totally different flavors, but something, I guess, for everybody here.
Then it's challenging how to create new things every time. And Jeremy's always been put up to the test and the challenge of coming up with new things.
Well, this has been a really special treat to see every step from grape to glass. Thank you to all of you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for coming.
All right.
My next stop is a long drive up I-270 to Frederick, Maryland, to sidle up to the bar at 10th Ward Distilling Company.
I was born in Philadelphia, and we moved to Frederick when I was 7. My family was raised here. Back then, actually, people of Frederick were called Frednecks because this was primarily an agricultural town. I moved out when I was 17. I went to college. I started a career in conservation biology. Then I had one of those days where I was just ready to have a life change and moved back to Frederick, said screw it, and emptied my bank account, and here we are today. When I started 10th Ward, I was motivated by the growth in the craft brewing industry, but I have always been more of a whiskey drinker and don't ever want to do something normal and on the same path as everybody else, and so that's where the distillery route took me. We're super proud to be a woman-owned distillery. We have a primarily female-oriented staff, and I think that's just drawn people to us. What I enjoy about distilling is that there are so many options for creativity. You have to source the grain, mash it, ferment it, distill it, and then treat it in any way. Barrel age it, you could infuse it, and then from there, you can mix with it and you can make a cocktail out of it, or you can give it to the spirit enthusiast that wants to try it straight. I find it to just be more fun and interesting.
I'm meeting Monica at 10th Ward's production facility on the outskirts of Frederick to learn more about a unique spirit.
Monica.
Hi, Seth.
Good to meet you.
You too. Welcome to the production facility for 10th Ward Distilling Company.
Well, I am excited. What are you going to be showing me today?
So we're going to be making something called a Genever-style gin. Our slogan is word off ordinary, so we like to make unconventional style of products.
And so what's different about a Genever-style gin?
Technically, it's a Dutch-style gin. It's the precursor to the traditional gin. Would you like me to show you the process?
Oh, I sure would.
Follow me. So, Seth, this is where the process starts. Miranda and Kenny right now are actually mashing our malted rye into what will eventually be a wort. The hot water is gonna separate the starches from the grain. It'll convert it into a sugar. The sugar is what we need the yeast to eat to turn it into alcohol. What eventually will become the base of a whiskey then becomes the base of our Jennifer.
So there's whiskey in the gin.
Yeah, and that's why we like to call it our gin for whiskey drinkers, or it's almost like gin and whiskey had a baby.
Because gin itself, besides the aromatics that are added, doesn't have a lot of flavor to it.
Typically, your standard gin is gonna be a neutral base that's distilled to such a high proof that it doesn't have any flavor in it. What we like about this is that you're adding those really cool earthy flavors from the rye, and then we add the botanical bill on top of that. So Seth, this is our still Mama Bear. She's a 2,000-liter hybrid pot and column still, and this is what we're distilling whiskey on right now.
So how does the distilling process actually work?
Once we have a fermented wort, we'll pump it into the still. Alcohol boils at a lower boiling temperature than water, so as we heat the still, it's going to start to evaporate and come up through these columns that are then going to cool it. Then it comes back down in the form of more concentrated spirit.
And then once you have that, to become gin, you need to add some flavorings, right?
Right. So right in front of us, we have juniper, which is required to be in a Jennifer or any sort of gin. It's gonna smell almost like pine trees. From there, we've got our elderflower, which will give the gin some floral notes. And I love a pop of citrus in anything. So this is our dried orange peel that goes in.
And how many botanicals go in total?
We have a total of 10 botanicals that are just going to add complexity, herbal qualities.
And finding that blend of botanicals and making your recipe, that's where the real art and magic of gin happens, right?
And that's what makes it fun for the team, too, because they have their opportunity to be creative and dial in for a perfect product.
After the Jennifer is distilled down to 90 proof, it's time to bottle it up.
So Seth, I've got Jerry and Kay here today bottling the final product.
Like any great spirit, it should obviously taste good, but the bottle, too, should look beautiful, and this one definitely fits the bill.
Thank you. So we have what we call the 10th Ward Weirdos actually on every bottle. That's a juniper head right there. Genevieve is her name. So would you like to try an actual pour of the Jennifer?
Oh, I sure would.
Yeah? All right, the final product.
Hey, cheers.
So on the nose, you should start to get citrus, a little bit of maltiness from the rye and some of the juniper. As you sip it, you'll notice, especially the juniper being a bit more forward, that's where you get some light piney notes. The rye whiskey and the malt throughout is a little bit sweeter, and then a nice herbal botanical blend from there.
That is very sippable. Just a nice, complex, yet delicious spirit.
We can also try it in a cocktail form. You wanna join us at the cocktail bar?
Oh, I sure do.
All right, let's go. So Seth, welcome to our cocktail bar and tasting room here in downtown Frederick. We have Phil, our bar manager, who is here to make us a delicious drink with the Jennifer.
We're in good hands with you today, Phil.
Absolutely.
And it looks like we have some food to go along with our drinks
Yeah,
as well.
so these burgers are from Maxwell's, our next door neighbors. We don't really have a restaurant as the distillery, and so our partners provide food to our guests.
Well, burger at the bar sounds good to me. So what cocktail are you making today, Phil?
Today we're going to be making our Queen Bee's Knees with our Jennifer Gin.
Oh, well, perfect, because we brought some over from the distillery for you.
Even better. So we're going to start with 1.5 ounces of the Jennifer Gin. And then we're going to add in a little bit of our house-made honey lavender syrup and some fresh lemon juice.
And this is a cocktail that traditionally would be made with Jennifer?
So a Bee's Knees would have been made with any style gin, but it is a Prohibition-era drink, so we like to put our own twist on it.
Oh, and now the shake. Let's see it.
Of course,
The double shake.
The double shake.
Sometimes it gets all over you.
You're a trained professional.
I've watched Cocktail a couple times.
And it seems perfect that you would bring back a traditional cocktail to showcase the Jennifer, because the Jennifer itself is something that's been brought back from the past as well, right?
It dates back to the 1500s, actually, believe
Wow.
it or not. It is that old of a spirit.
And now we're going to top it off with some fresh lemon dipped in a lavender sugar made in-house. You're going to get your nose right into it.
That is a really beautiful cocktail. Cheers, Monica.
Cheers.
Cheers. And you weren't kidding about getting your nose right in there, because that is very lavender forward, but also really nice kind of subtle citrus flavors that I think really accentuate the ones in the Jennifer.
Well, every time we're making a cocktail, you want to make sure that it has sweet, spirit, bitter, and citrus. And this cocktail, I think, really highlights all four in a really nice balance.
Well, and I gotta say, even just driving up to Frederick, I saw so many distilleries, breweries along the way, so you're succeeding in a very crowded space.
It's actually been cool to be a part of. Frederick now is home to the most breweries, distilleries, and wineries in this state of Maryland, and the industry has been great. We have brothers and sisters all around us, so you know, if something breaks down, I can always borrow a forklift from a neighboring brewery. So we just love being a part of our community and a part of our heritage, and at the end of the day, you get a delicious whiskey and gin out of it.
Pretty good deal. Well, thanks so much for letting me watch the process from grain to glass, all the way to cocktail. This has been wonderful.
You're welcome.
Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The final thing we have brewing today is a trip to Hyattsville, Maryland, to visit Streetcar 82.
My name is Mark Burke. I'm the owner and head brewer of Streetcar 82, S82 for short. Before I opened the brewery, I was the athletic director at the Model Secondary School for the Deaf here in Washington, D.C. I was also a football coach and the rugby coach.
After taking an interest in home brewing, in 2018, Mark joined with some friends to open Streetcar 82, named for the trolley line that used to run up and down Route 1.
We deaf owners, wanted to set out and not just make a deaf-owned brewery, but make the best brewery that's owned by deaf people. Our goal is to make the best beer, period. When a customer comes in for the first time, they're looking all over the place. Where's the tap list? They have to look at the table and figure out a way to communicate with the bartenders to really force that eye contact and get that connection. And once they get their first beer in, they're good. When we see deaf and hearing people all mixed together here, interacting, we've seen friendships develop here. We've seen people get on dates, get married, I don't know where it goes from there. And also, we do have food trucks that are here every day. That's a win-win situation for us and for the food trucks as well. There's a lot of people that come here from all walks of life. And there's a beer for everyone. Whether they want a Pilsner, to a stout, to a barrel-aged beer, a hazy IPA. Our goal is to have a beer that serves everyone, and so everyone can come in and enjoy themselves.
We're gonna be stopping the cameras between the three setups.
I'm meeting Mark with the help of our standout interpreter, Matt, to get a look at Streetcar 82 in action.
Mark, good to meet you. What's up?
Doing well, good to see you.
I love all of the aromas in this brewery. What kind of beer are you making today at Streetcar 82?
So today we're doing our signature beer, hazy IPA called the Fancy Nancy.
All right, well, I love beer, but I know very little about the brewing process. What do you got going on in these tanks?
So today for the brewing, all the grains get poured into the mash tun here in the middle, and then we added hot water. It's almost like a tea infusion process where you're breaking down the sugars and flavors, and then you leave it in the mash tun for 1 hour. Now we're transferring over to the fermentation tanks over here. I add the yeast. Once the yeast breaks it down, it eats away at the sugar and releases the CO2 to become alcohol, and there you have it, that's your beer.
And so what makes a hazy IPA different from a regular IPA?
For a hazy IPA, we add oats, and that oats gives that beer the juicy body, that hazy look. And then for a hazy IPA, you want to dry hops at the end. So we have two different types of hops here, the Mosaic and the Amarillo. Go ahead and take some in your hand, break it up, grind it up a bit, get a good whiff.
And so using two different types of hops, is they're gonna each bring their own unique flavor profile?
Yes, that's right. So it's always better to have a mix of different types of hops for a more complex, full-bodied beer, rather than just a single hop beer. So with the dry hopping process, when the Fancy Nancy is getting close to being complete, I'll go ahead and add in the hops. That gives it an increased complex flavor profile. That's what makes it a hazy IPA. And from there, we'll let it sit for about 4 to 5 days, make sure that flavors are adjusting correctly, and then finally we'll transfer to the bright tank. So Seth, here's the bright tank. This is what we also call the finishing tank. It's the carbon dioxide. Gets hosed in to the bright. Once it hits that target carbonation level, then let it sit for about a day, and then it'll be ready to get kegged off. If you don't mind helping me, let's get a label on this keg
I'm happy
here.
to help.
All right, awesome. So here you are.
All right, 7.4% alcohol. So this is a pretty strong beer here.
That's right, 7.4% ABV, but it's a nice, clean sip of beer. So the carbon dioxide pushes the beer down into the keg, and it has a ball inside here. So the CO2 shoots out of here, and once it's full, that ball will pop right up, and that's when it stops. All right, Seth, I'm getting pretty thirsty. How about we tap this thing off and go have a beer?
Hey, that sounds great to me, Mark.
Since you can bring your own food to Streetcar 82, my crew hit up the nearby 250 barbecue to grab some brisket for us to enjoy with our beer. We featured the acclaimed Texas-style barbecue spot in our pilot episode, and it's also a proud deaf and hard-of-hearing friendly establishment.
We have Tony here. He's deaf. He's also our sausage maker. He's an expert on how to trim briskets.
All right, Mark, that was fascinating to get a little peek of the brewing process. And I'm just loving the color, the cloudiness of this drink. Cheers.
Cheers, Seth. It came out well.
It sure did. That is nice, full-bodied, but refreshing with some of those fruity notes. That beer, excellent.
Thank you.
I'm really, really loving that. It's high in alcohol, but you wouldn't know it because it's a little bit mellow.
That's right. I'm glad you enjoyed the beer.
Please help yourself to some award-winning brisket.
After a long day's work, this looks real good.
Just go for it.
Oh, yeah. That's a perfect combination right there.
Just as good as I remember it. When you're brewing, do you spend a lot of time thinking about food pairings?
Yes, in fact, oftentimes I'm trying to think of a beer that'll fit the food trucks that are coming. A fruity or a sour beer that goes well with the tacos. What we did with 250 Barbecue, Pitmaster, the smoked lager that we made. We love collaborating.
Well, you have a nice little community around here. As I understand it, the DC area is a place that does have a large deaf and hard of hearing community, right?
Yes, exactly right. So here, this DC, DMV area, it's a great location for us just because of the large deaf and hard of hearing population that lives here, the hearing folks that are familiar with us. It's not like a whole foreign experience for them to interact with deaf people. They accept us, and oftentimes hearing people will say, oh, I know someone from work who's deaf, or I have a family member who's deaf, or a neighbor. There's always some degree of separation between someone that's hearing and the deaf community here in the DMV. And when they come in this bar, they're comfortable interacting with deaf people. You know, we don't bite, and we serve great beer. So, and it's fun to see how the entire community really comes together. All are welcome here at S82.
Well, I can think of very few things that bring people together as well as beer does. And on top of that, this Fancy Nancy, just first rate. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Seth, on our brew day. We had a lot of fun working with you. Hope you come back again soon. And bring your whole crew, too.
Oh, I think me and the whole gang will be back real soon. Hey, cheers, Mark.
Thank you. Beers on Seth next time.
To find out more about great food in the Washington metro area, visit WETA.org/signature dish.